What's up, guys? Paddy here with another bite-sized battle report for the 2 Plus podcast. Today I'm going to walk you through a game I had with a friend of the pod, Alex Searle. We know him affectionately as Chaos Alex here. I'm playing my Wood Elves, and he's playing his Wolves of the Sea up here. Now, just before I get stuck into it, just your friendly reminder, please like, subscribe, comment, interact with us. It really helps us keep going and keeps us pumping out this content. But let's get stuck into it. So here you can see deployment. This was at a tournament that I was with Alex. This was round 3 of 3, and it was a 1,500-point tournament. I'll start with my deployment here. These are my Way Watchers. I've got 10 Glade Guard down the bottom with Arcane Bodkins, Glade Rider Bus with a level 2 in it, running Hagbane Tips, 8 Deepwood Scouts, 8 Deepwood Scouts, both with Hagbane, a Waystalker up the top there, Sisters of the Thorn with Pillar of Fire, 5 Wild Riders, and a level 4 on a Warhawk with the Oaken Stave. Alex has a unit of Skinwolves, another unit of Skinwolves, some Dragon Ogres, a Marauder block with a level 4 with Puppet and an extra spell attached to it. That is a gigantic spawn of Nurgle. These are some Frenzied Marauder Horsemen, I think, possibly Huskarls, I forget. And these are some more Chaos Hounds like those there. So deployment here, he obviously bunched up. He has this speed advantage against me. And what I was trying to do, anyone who's seen a few of my videos before, you notice that I deploy very defensively. I try to own a third of the board and open it up into a half. And I always try and leave a little bit of bait out to the left just to divert some threats. If all of this runs towards me, it's probably worse for me. So these are my sacrificial lambs, and everyone loves killing Way Watchers, which is what I learnt at this tournament. So this is the end of both of our turn ones. Alex got Arcane Urgency off on his big unit of Skinwolves, which was massive. He had +5 to cast on a level 4. Sorry, level 4 with +5 to cast. So the high chance it was going off. But as you can see, just the immediate threat that causes to my army, I kind of just realized these guys were going to die. I may have been able to form them a bit better to like delay them a bit longer, but that was feeding them to the wolves. I moved back with my Way Watchers and shot. I don't think I did any wounds to them. And he had just marched them up initially. He went first, by the way. He moved his Dragon Ogres up. He got a good roll on his Gigantic Spawn, I think like 16 or something, 15, and just pushed it straight up the board, moving up his Marauders, kept his Marauder Horseman behind a hill, which I found kind of interesting. And I managed to kill both units of dogs on my turn. I know that they're chaff, but they're fast chaff, and I'm toughness 3 with no armor, so they can tear my elves to shreds, so I thought I better get rid of them. I also managed to drop down a Tree Singing and 1 Pillar of Fire. I unfortunately only managed to do 1 wound on the Gigantic Spawn, I think, in my entire round of poison shooting. I think I shot all of my poison shots at it. He made a lot of regen saves. The double save for the Gigantic Spawn is really good against ballistic skill shooting, at least. So that is the game state here. You can see he's pressuring straight away. He took my bait. I initially thought this was a mistake, and it may have been deploying them so far up, but the end result was good for me because it took this unit of Skinwolves out of the battle, basically. You'll see here some shenanigans ensue, which delay them even further. But all in all, a pretty balanced turn 1 for both teams. So these are the scenarios. You can see the wolves staring down at my Way Watchers and the other wolves staring down my Glade Guard, as well as this Gigantic Spawn. So pretty terrifying stuff for my poor little elves. The shenanigans I was talking about before, which is pretty funny, is his next turn he charges. With these into my Way Watchers, I flee. They have feigned flight, so they automatically rally, which is handy. But he rolls terribly, including Swift Stride, and fails that charge, buying me another turn, which really kind of takes them out of the game because they take an extra turn to kill them. The 4 go into my Glade Guard, no problem, though, and eventually, well, I think in 1 turn, tear them to shreds. Now that he's got them in, he decides to put his spawn towards the rest of my army, which is probably a good call because my Glade Guard are not doing squat there. the dragon ogres there, they kind of get left behind, which I think people are kind of figuring out. They're a bit slow for the meta, especially when you're running them in a brick of 4. So my intention was always just to ignore them because I don't think I could have killed 4. They weren't an immediate threat for me. I had these other things I needed to kill first. So I was kind of just going to run away. His horsemen remained behind the hill. Again, I was confused by that. And the other thing I found interesting, because his horse caster couldn't go into the unit, well, it sits outside. He was really hampered there. Now, Alex had 5 spells and didn't roll Fireball. He had Blue Fire and Ruby Ring, but didn't roll Fireball, which is massive for me. Fireball tears me to shreds. And one thing I probably didn't take advantage of, because 2 magic missiles is a lot easier to deal with than 3. I had Oaken Stave on this Warhawk here, so I probably could have been a bit more aggressive in pressuring him and making him make some more difficult decisions, but instead I played very defensively. What I did here with my Wild Riders was I realized this left side was going to be cooked, so I thought I needed to send some reinforcements. I was trying something new here, which was probably a good decision, I think. Normally with the Wild Riders, I just send them straight out, see what I can kill, kind of disrupt my enemy lines as best I can. But in this game, I turned them around and set them back over here, and it helps, again, delay things. But what it did create was this little traffic jam, which made it kind of hard to get my guys out, but we'll get there in a sec. So Alex eventually gets his Skin Wolves into my Way Watchers. I managed to kill one, which is fun, but then he managed to kill all my Way Watchers, I think, in one round of combat. But as I said, they get stuck on this side of the board, and the Way Watchers are 130 points, I think. Skin Wolves are probably about the same, but their damage output, I think, is much more scary for my army. So all in all, a pretty fair trade in my eyes. I sacrificed 130 points for time, basically. So as you can see, he wipes out my Glade Guard and starts moving into my bottom right corner. I'm moving my Glade Riders back out of the way, and that was on a reserve move, so setting up a Frenzied Charge into his Gigantic Spawn just to hopefully buy me some time. I am again getting a bit traffic jammed here and not getting a lot of pillars out. I think I have one. I managed to get a couple more out later, but Alex does then decide to move his Marauder Horseman over the hill. All in all, I think it just kind of gave me an extra target. It did mean I couldn't shoot the block of Marauders, which was my next target, but I just could not kill this Gigantic Spawn. It was really pesky. So that really hampered things. I really needed to drop just one of either the Gigantic Spawn or those Skin Wolves, so then I could focus on the Marauder block. But alas, it's tough and got some saves. So you can see here my scared little Glade Riders running back into the back corner of the board and setting up that Wild Rider charge, which does buy them some time. This is what it looks like from above, and this is the sequence that happens. So you can see it's set up on the left. His Gigantic Spawn I can't remember why he didn't charge into my Wild Riders, but nonetheless, it got to my turn, and then I had to charge and got him in the flank. I was hoping to do a couple of wounds here and do a bit more damage and then kind of sustain this combat for a bit. But unfortunately, they don't do a whole lot. The flank charge counting for a little bit, but not enough. Dragon Ogre's just taking their sweet time getting into combat. This was, I think, the end of turn 3. So there wasn't a lot of time left and they hadn't done much. A point sink, sure, but they've got to be doing damage, I think, for value. Because Alex moved up his Marauders a bit later than I expected, it kind of allowed me to clear the chaff efficiently and then clear these guys next. I think if he had multiple threats at the same time, he would have pressured this section of the board a lot more. These guys didn't really have to move for the entire game. They cleared chaff and kind of backed off a little bit. And then I was able to just annihilate this unit pretty quickly once it showed its head. So as you can see, the Wild Riders, although they've bought me some time, again, they don't do a lot of damage. I think they get another wound off on the Gigantic Spawn, but eventually getting pushed back and combo charged by his Skin Wolves, his Spawn, and his Dragon Ogres. That's the cue for me to run the F away. I leave another little roadblock here just to kind of buy me more time, because now I'm kind of staring down a defeat. I need to make sure I get away so I'm not getting follow-up charges and accidental contacts. If my Warhawk gets into combat, it dies, which has happened before. So that was my goal at this moment, was to just run it away and hopefully get into a position to cast some magic to do some damage. Wild Riders get evaporated. The Dragon Ogres overrun into my scouts. And the Chaos Spawn gets blocked, which is pretty funny because now he's just a large target that I can shoot at, which works very much in my favor. As you can see, no gigantic spawn here anymore. My poison finally turns up, which is great. Him being a large target helps a lot there. I think I just threw everything at it and eventually brought it down. This is the end of turn 4, so this is my turn. Turn 4, his Dragon Ogres evaporated my Deepwood Scouts there. I put a Tree Singing down and I've got double Pillar here, and this is key for me because I get to move both of these through his unit. And it was a tight game. Once I dropped the gigantic spawn, I cleared all the chaff. If I could get this unit here, then I could possibly pull off a result. I still had a fair amount of points on the board, given my sister's Glade Rider Bus, level 4, Deepwood Scouts, and Way Stalker was still on the board. So the game wasn't over yet, but I was definitely losing at this stage. So this is the setup turn 5. Alex charges into my Deepwood Scouts. I flee away and I kind of just set up the rest of my army to try and take out this unit. It was going to be very important for me. And this is my final turn. You can see here my Deepwood Scouts over there. They don't rally and they flee off the board, which is kind of frustrating because it's just a free 120 points or something for Alex. But then Alex had moved his Skin Wolves away over here. They still had, I believe, maybe one of them had taken a wound, or maybe one of them had taken 2 wounds. Keep in mind, this sorcerer has Infernal Puppet, so my only real chance to win this is to fly into here with my Warhawk, cast Fireball and Ruby Ring, and try and pop those 2 off. All in the gaze of an Infernal Puppet Chaos Sorcerer. But that was my play, and I managed to pull it off. Sorry about the quality of this photo, but as you can see, I pop in there. I managed to roll like 5s and 6s across the board for both of my casting. He's unable to dispel it, and I get enough wounds. I think I overkill it by 1 maybe, but he makes a couple saves there as well just to keep it interesting. But all in all, Alex is left on the table this unit with his Sorcerer, his Dragon Ogres, and those Skin Wolves that were over here, kept out of the game by my valiant, courageous Way Watchers. These guys fled off the board. Sorry, I think I left them on there for time. And my Way Stalker's up there. I've got my Sisters and my Glade Rider Bus and my level 4. All in all, ends in a draw and ends a tournament run for me of 1 win and 2 draws. In my first tournament, I was pretty happy about that. But a few wins, I think, escaped my grasp. But here are the takeaways from this game. Always aim to finish your games if you're in a tournament, particularly. Obviously, socially, it's a bit different. You always tend to finish your games. But for me, playing Wood Elves, I tend to win my games late. I tend to clear chaff, and then it's just pick away, pick away, pick away, pick away. And I tend to win on turn 5 and 6 if I win. The other thing is to identify advantages. I don't think I gave enough credit to my Oaken Stave. I could have pressured his Marauder block a lot better by just plonking my evasive Warhawk closer to make sure I can have a chance at dispelling all his fireballs. And if I lose a unit of Deepwood Scouts from poor rolling, so be it. But I may have been able to do some more damage to that Marauder block, which definitely would have turned the tide there. And the other takeaway is to clear threats early. In this game, that option kind of got taken out of my hands because of that early arcane urgency. I really needed to damage that central offensive squad of Skin Wolves and the gigantic spawn, which I think my dice kind of abandoned me on the poison rolling there, but that is the tactic of poison shooting. It doesn't always work. So his central force was able to push through and break my lines way too early. If I was able to damage them a bit sooner, then I think I could have turned that game a bit earlier. But all in all, it's a really great game, and happy to play Alex. And he's an awesome opponent, great friend of the pod. Skin Wolves are really fun, I think, as well. So yeah, all in all, enjoyable game. Thanks everyone for watching. Again, we'll be back again with another battle report soon.